Hi everyone, my name is Johnny Lee and this is my son Vaughn. Vaughn is 2. Say hi, Vaughn. That's as good as it's gonna get. There might be some background noise, so I apologize as my son runs around. I wanted to do this video just to talk a bit about myself, specifically about my coming out story and being Korean American and gay. I know that there are a lot of Korean men out there and Asian men who struggle just with their own sexual identity because it's such a taboo topic. There are so few voices out there, I feel, that are discussing some of the challenges that are specific to Asian men as it pertains to being gay and coming out to their families. So I just wanted to create a dialogue and actually put my voice out there to talk a bit about my coming out story. Oh, Vaughn, put Ducky away, please. Ducky away, thank you. Sorry. So my particular story is probably, not necessarily unique in that there were a lot of challenging things that happened when I was coming out to my folks. I was 17 years old, and my parents are very devout Christians. I grew up in a very conservative, very religious household, and when I came out to them, the shit really hit the fan in a big way. And I know that that's something that a lot of people are afraid of, and it keeps people in the closet well into adulthood. And I guess my reason for wanting to share my story isn't to say that all of your worst fears may come true, and to keep you in the closet, but it's really just to talk a bit about some of the crazy things that happened to me. But then in the end, my hope is that I will show you how my parents, who are today incredibly accepting and loving people who love my family, my husband, my boys, they've come such a long way, and they are shining examples of how very conservative, old school Korean parents who are immigrants to New York could really change their views and come around in a major way. They went from thinking that I was possessed by the devil, cutting me off from the family completely, to now being absolutely in love with my sons. And they really love and respect our relationship as well. So that's really why I wanted to make this video. As I said, I'm not anyone special in particular. I was a formerly really obese kid. I struggled with weight, with my own sort of identity for quite a while. And when I came out to my family, I'm even giving myself too much credit because I was outed to my folks by other people, and it was incredibly scary, and a lot of crazy things that had happened at the time, which for me as a high schooler who was just into books and studying, I didn't know anything about the world. So I was basically put out there completely on my own to fend for myself when I was entering into college, like a really formative time in my life. And I guess ultimately I made it through, but at the time I didn't have any Asian or Korean male influences or role models that I could seek out in terms of getting some guidance, and that was really tough for me. Hey. I really wished at the time that I would get to speak to someone who was going through something that I was going through, and who had Asian parents as well, because I think the relationship between Asian kids and their parents is different from other Western cultures. When I was struggling with all the stuff that was going on at home, a lot of my friends had the best intentions, but their reactions were oftentimes to say, fuck my parents and fuck my family, and I should just be seeking my own happiness with or without them. And as much as I appreciated their support, like that particular feedback, it just didn't resonate with me, because I think that when you grow up in a Korean household or an Asian household, the idea of saying, you know, fuck your parents and fuck your family, that is just not, you know, that's completely inconceivable. I think that, you know, not to say that the bonds of our relationship are any deeper, but it's just a particular mindset. And so I didn't really understand that bit of advice. And I really hoped at the time that I could talk to someone who had gone through what I was going through. But basically, what I want to say without being too repetitive is that my parents went from being incredibly homophobic and just so afraid of talking about who I was to their friends, and really, you know, ultimately hating me, thinking that I was possessed by the devil, to now respecting me and loving my family. And there's so much that I learned during that whole entire process. I went through a lot of challenging times emotionally and psychologically, but in the end, you know, my life is just an example of how things can really change and get better as long as you continue to have hope and confidence and you know, really. Okay, bud. This is my son. He's showing me his belly. Show them your belly. All right. Sorry. So, you know, I lost my train of thought, but ultimately, I wanted to make this video to first introduce myself, to tell you that I am, you know, just an average Korean American gay male, and my story was particularly tough, but I want to give you, you know, just the best bit of advice, which is to just continue to be yourself, love yourself, and, you know, dream big. I never would have thought back when I was going through all of my difficulties that I would end up married with kids. Like, you know, that was a dream that I didn't even think at the time. Sometimes it's not a dream, to be honest, to have kids, right? No, I'm just kidding. But ultimately, my life today is, you know, just far removed from what I thought it was going to be and what I was afraid it was headed towards at the time when I was coming out. But really, I think through some luck and through some really good advice from people in my life, I was able to see myself through it, and to create a dialogue with my parents, which helped them to understand me better. And basically, I kind of stumbled many times, but ended up in a place where I am much happier today. So I wanted to share my story with you. I hope to grow this channel by just giving you honest feedback, showing you my life in sort of raw and unedited form. Things are pretty wild with me. As you can see, my son takes up a lot of energy and a lot of focus. There are other things that I would love to talk about. You know, as I said, I was a formerly very obese kid who had to make a change in his life through focusing on fitness. So that's something else that I'd love to bring into this conversation. I also last year found out that I have cancer, so that's something else that I would love to talk to you guys about. And basically, you know, my life with my husband and how we became dads through surrogacy, that's also another big topic which I'd love to get into. So please, you know, leave feedback, send me your comments. I'd love to go into all of those topics in detail with you. So yeah. Okay. All right. I think it's nap time. So I will see you later, and I hope to hear from you. Bye.